Good evening. Welcome to the Core 2 podcast. And as y'all know, I'm Lana Jones. And as you may or may not know, a couple of weeks ago, my husband was kind enough to share with us the man card. All right. So tonight, guess what we bringing? The woman card. All right. Yeah. Well, tonight, just like my husband did, we're sharing the woman's card, and I just want to let the men know you might want to listen up. So if you're looking for a woman in your life, you know what to be looking for. All right. So the posture that I want to take tonight on this podcast is not what the world is saying about relationships, but what God has to say about relationships, okay, and marriage. All right. So I have a guest of beautiful women with me tonight to help me relay that message, and they're going to introduce themselves briefly. We're going to start over here with Chrislyn.
Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Chrislyn Faison. I am 24 years old.
Right.
I am single and I am a believer. I love the Lord. I served as a missionary for 2 years with Crew, Campus Crusade for Christ. And now I'm a missionary, of course, but not being paid to do it, sharing the gospel when I get a chance to and ministering to others when I can. But ultimately, I am very excited to talk about God's goodness in relationship and faith. So, yeah, very grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Ramona Clarkson, and I am a widow, and I've been a widow since 2011. I am a member of the Higher Mark Church. I've been a member there 28 plus years, and I am really, really excited to be a part of this podcast. And I just look forward to giving you the information that I've been given.
All right. Cheryl.
Good evening. I am Cheryl Thompson and I am divorced 11 years. I am the mother of Tyler and Zachary, my adult sons, who are just the joy of my life. And I love family. I love hanging out with friends. I love ministry and serving God's people. And I am super excited to be called to be a part of this panel tonight.
All right. Now
Awesome. I am Angie Langford, and I have been divorced for 4 years. And I too have very much a heart for women. And I am a first time grandmother. 8-month-old Bryson. I have the one daughter, Raven and Chris, who are new amazing parents and just great kids. And I'm also the sister to the podcast host. So very excited about tonight, and we will turn it back to her to get us started.
All right. All right. All right. You know, as Christian women, we know that God has been our provider. He's been our nurturer, our encourager, the lover of our souls. He's taught us to be empathetic, a servant leader, and a problem solver. And so it's these 7 traits that's going to be our topic tonight for discussion. And we want women to know that they can lean on God for all of these characteristics. And once they've been ministered to themselves, then they can be what their spouse or their man needs, but not until then, right? Not until then. Then we need the men to know what a real woman looks like and why he needs this kind of woman in his life, right? All right, so we're going to open up for some of our discussions. We're going to start with our nurturer. And so for that, Ramona is going to talk to us about why a man needs a nurturing woman.
Well, I believe that a man need a nurturing woman because from the beginning he was nurtured. And so he's going to look for someone to give him that same level of care. So it's very important for women to know how to nurture the man.
Yeah. So now, how do you see nurturing as more than just motherhood, but a spiritual calling as well?
I see nurturing as more than motherhood, but a spiritual calling because we're called to be submissive and to be there for our husbands, and to be supportive. So a part of nurturing is support, because if a man is not being supported, then he's not going to feel nurtured.
And you know, as women, only when you've been through that, when you needed a nurturer. Because a lot of times we talk about how we need to be the nurturer, but you have to have been through that process where you needed to be nurtured too, as well. So
Right.
yeah, in what ways can women nurture others emotionally, spiritually, or even within our community, like a church or work? Because I know you talked to me about your grandson and nurturing him and many of his
Right. And
friends.
many of his friends and many young people. I have three adult daughters, and I have three grandchildren.
Okay.
And nurturing is very important. And they look to me for information. They really look to me for the truth.
Okay.
And so part of nurturing is telling them the truth,
Mhm.
because they will never become who they're supposed to become if we don't give them truth,
Mhm.
because it's the truth that's going to really set them free. So from the very beginning, all of my grandchildren know a scripture. They
Okay.
learn a scripture. I have one grandson that's autistic, and he still know the scripture now. I taught him the Lord is my shepherd, and I
Mhm.
shall not want. The hardest part of that was, no, the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall want. But he
Okay.
understood nurturing. And so
Mhm.
that was my way of nurturing my children, by teaching them God's word,
Yeah.
so that when it was time for them to really accept Christ for themselves,
Mhm.
they understood, what it really meant, to do that.
Right, right, right. And it's always helpful when we can get information like this for those women who may be going through some struggles, because it's not always easy to even take the time to teach scripture,
Right.
but many times that's what you got to teach in order to get to the next level. And having learned that yourself, I'm
Right.
sure, that's what made you realize that this is what we need to give them.
It was about taking the time.
Yeah,
Some
it
things you
is.
have to take.
Yeah.
It wasn't about finding the time or
Yeah.
if you have time.
Yeah. Taking
That's
the
just
time.
like saying if you feel like fasting.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
says when you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take the time,
Mm-hmm.
seed time, harvest. So
Right.
whatever you invest in that child, that's what you're gonna get out of it.
That's right.
So nurturing.
All right. Sure.
Miss Ramona,
Sure.
something.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Miss Ramona, I'm really happy that you mentioned like practical things of ways to nurture as a woman, especially in a romantic relationship. Because I think sometimes as a single person, you're kind of trying to figure out how do I nurture, but not as a wife, because I'm not a wife yet.
Mhm.
And so, what is the practicalities of nurturing my boyfriend or nurturing someone you're dating? And I wanted to ask you, what would you say to
It's been a long time.
that?
But as you know, we will find ways to be kind, and do the little things. Bring the little things to the table. Share a recipe, or let me cook something for you, instead of going out. Things like that. So you find little things like that to nurture.
Right. And even spending time in things that they like to do
There you
is
go.
a way to be nurturing. Even if it's maybe not your particular interest, but the fact that you're there, that you're spending time with them is a way of nurturing. And you realize that when people have spent time with you and given you the best of themselves. So, in addition to nurturing, Angie, can you tell us about being a provider? What does that mean? We're so used to hearing people say that, my husband is the provider, and we
Right.
look for the men for that.
Yeah, I would say first of all, when we think about provider, I think even when we reference it even to the husband, I think we think about it financial. That's just the angle we think of being the provider is just all about financial. But I would say that it's so much more than that. It's the emotional well-being, it's the spiritual well-being, it's the relational well-being. And so I think we have an example of it through the Proverbs 31 woman. I mean, when you look at her character, first of all, she was noble. So that's someone who is very honorable, a level of integrity. When you think about who she was, she had a strong work ethic. She was organized. It even talks about her arms being strong. So that says, a little bit about, hey, she worked, she worked out. So when I think of being a provider, and people who know me often know I say this, you can't give something you don't have. So I when you think about a provider, we have to take care of ourselves. So the self-care is necessary to be the provider. I mean, a lot of times we think we're giving it away, but we're giving it away complaining. The energy is not the inviting kind of energy. I think men sometimes think, shoot, should I throw my cap in, and can I come in? What kind of mood is she going to be in? She's doing a lot of the stuff, but she's, real hateful about doing it. So I just feel like the Proverbs 31 woman helps us to know a little bit about kind of that providing nature. But again, it's the right kind of energy. It's the organization she brings. It's the can-do kind of attitude that she has. And it's just a spirit that he wants to be around.
And if she's providing all of that, how does he come into that? If she's providing that, is it leaving some room for him to be part of that provision, or is that something they're both doing together so that it's all balanced?
Let me just say this. having been married, and I would certainly say it is something that you should be doing together. I think that one of the things, this woman does is she can create the order, if you will, but she certainly leaves room for him to kind of be a part of it. And, whether it's going grocery shopping together, whether it's sitting down talking about kind of what kind of meals they're going to have together, whether it's, just all of the things to kind of overseeing and running a home. I mean, it's teamwork makes the dream work. And then I like to say 2 is better than 1. So it's definitely room for, and when we do it alone, and I've been one to have done it alone, I mean, you got the S on your chest for what?
Exactly.
Superwoman. You are not the
Exactly.
superwoman, and you will be worn out, and it's very frustrating, and it just makes for not really a functional household. So
Yeah. And I was thinking too, when you actually read that scripture about the Proverbs 31 woman, she had handmaids helping her. She wasn't doing everything by herself. And so that means don't try to take it all on yourself as a woman. Get you some help if you need
absolutely
some help.
get you a cleaning service or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a message to the men, that if your expectation, because I think there is that expectation, that when I get married, number one, she ought to be doing everything that my mama was doing. And two, there are exceptions to everything that I say.
There are.
But I work hard all day. I come home. I'm tired. I'm gonna put my feet up, and I'm sitting waiting to be served. Well, that's not to say that can't and won't happen. But sometimes she's tired and she wants to put her feet up and she wants to be served. So it goes back to, and I don't think that that's necessarily a shift in roles. That's we serve one another. We provide more for one another.
Right.
And I think a woman's role in it is really kind of setting the atmosphere.
Exactly.
It's kind of like when you go into a room, if the lights are bright, that's a type of atmosphere. If the lights are, low, if there's a candle lit, she's the one that needs to light the candle. And I'm speaking figuratively.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And because I really believe this with everything in me, that the tone that the woman has is what seeps through the walls of the home.
Mm-hmm.
No
That's
matter
a word.
What. And that's why as a woman, when you're tired and you're bothered or whatever is going on with you, you got to communicate that so that he knows what's going on with you. Because sometimes we get caught up too. You mentioned roles. Roles is what the two of you set.
Right.
It's not what you go into that relationship in your mind. And that's why it's important to talk about, well, what are your expectations? My husband and I, we do a questionnaire when we counsel, where it's even defined in that, what are your expectations as far as taking out the trash and sweeping and cleaning up and blah blah blah.
If he's the better cook, let him cook.
Hallelujah.
And also,
Thank you, Lord, for my day.
Yes. Also, just to add to that, I think sometimes we need to allow them, in certain spaces. Sometimes we really do go in with the S on our chest.
We do.
And we can do everything. And we do it. And we never allow them. And then once we're burned out, then we want to stop. So we need to be careful about that.
It's so
Well,
true.
and let me just say this. I think we, from 0 to 18, it's a lot of what we've been taught
Yes.
and what we have seen.
Mhm.
And to Lana's point, I think we need to come together and gain agreement on
Right.
what's going to work for us.
Yeah.
And have a conversation about it. And some of this is we got to break some old habits.
That's right.
Right.
Because it's a different day and time. I mean, you have women who are working outside of the homes with demanding careers
Right.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and when I hear people say how supportive, we were just at the Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Women's Conference, and CC Winans was talking about, her career and how supportive her husband had been, through her career. And I just think that's amazing, because I think we should be the biggest cheerleaders for one another.
That's true.
And
Not
that
competing.
Yeah. And
not
that,
competing at all.
right.
Yes.
And that carries us into that being that encourager. How you can't be a good encourager until you have felt what that's like to be encouraged. And sometimes the truth is you've got to encourage yourself.
Mhm.
You've got to encourage yourself in what you know about God and what you know about life that's hard, and especially being, maybe you're raising children. It's hard for the two of you, and my heart goes out to the single mothers and fathers who
Oh,
are
yeah.
raising children by themselves. So it's I would say, why is encouragement such a powerful tool in the life of a godly woman?
Yeah, I would say something to that. I think that encouragement is really, we often are looking for, what our purpose is, what our calling is, and this whole gift of encouragement. I feel like, and I feel like it's certainly a gift that God has given me. It's the opportunity to show kindness. And it's an opportunity to show God's love. And I feel like He uses me to kind of lift people, our words. And what does the scripture say? Out of the mouth, we either are praising people or we're tearing them down. So it's just that opportunity to be able to say, and I do believe that there's not a pit so deep that God ain't down there with you. So you don't have to carry it, by yourself. Doesn't mean you don't go through anything, but it just means that He's there and wanting us to be lifted up. All that we need is found in His word. So, society looking at what everybody else is doing, all these other things so often kind of get us kind of in a slump.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I was just going to say the other thing is that, I think one of the tools, or one of the things that really lifts our spirit is we all got something to be grateful about.
We do.
And sometimes just
Mhm.
encouraging people that, guess what, it's somebody worse off than you.
Mhm.
Oh,
And just get your list out and just, start writing some of the things you're grateful for. And it just lifts our spirits.
And I think that's encouraging. I think men are drawn to women who are encouragers because, well, we certainly know that with Black men, they go through so much just in the working world and, in society in general. And so to be able to come home to an encourager, somebody who will push them, who will motivate them, who will tell them, how good they are and how much they're appreciated, because that's what we've needed from God in order for us to move from one place to the other. And I was thinking about, there was a question here that says, share a time when somebody's encouragement shifted your perspective or helped you walk through something difficult. Certainly, for me, school was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There are times in our relationships that things are difficult. Raising children is difficult, but you've got to encourage yourself as well as encourage those around you. So it is like I said, I think men are drawn to women who are encouragers.
And I just want to say this. I think it's an area that we all need to just, to me, we're always looking to work to improve something in our lives. I mean, that's to me what growth is all about.
Mhm.
So I would just say to the audience for women, like, just helping to create a word bank of words that are uplifting. And then the other part is just our tone,
Mhm.
just being mindful, of kind of how we're speaking about things and the choice of words. I mean, that's just a place of growth for us. And that we're not negative. Nobody wants to keep hearing about a whole bunch of what's wrong and I mean, that's just discouraging, so discouraging to men anyway. So I just would say, the in this season of my life and my singleness, I am just growing in a place of being mindful of, first of all, the conversation that's happening in my head. I do think that, I mean, we give off what's inside, so I just would just encourage us to, the self-talk that we have with ourselves, is so much of what we bring into our relationship, not only with men in our life, but shooks our friends. We'll
Right.
wear them down.
Right. And I was thinking, as you were talking about that, how you said we bring a whole bunch of stuff. Uh, what I find too is being a problem solver. We can all what we call nag, or we can all talk about what's bothering us, or you can go on and on and on about a problem. But I think what's attractive sometimes is being a problem solver. And so Cheryl or Chrislyn, can y'all talk to us about that, being a problem solver?
I think the most important thing is just being a good listener.
Okay, that's good.
If you are not, if you're so busy talking, you can't possibly be listening.
Right.
And you can't listen with the thought of what am I saying next?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words, having a conversation with someone and you barely paying attention to what they're saying, you're not even, what you say next doesn't even fit with what they just finished saying.
Mm-hmm.
But you've just been on tiptoes of anticipation to get it out because I just need to say this. And you've totally just obliterated this man. And I think, the power, what is it? The power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yes.
And I think that is probably one of the biggest problems that we as women have, our tongues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the minute we can build a man up, and the very next second we can tear him down with our words. And when it comes to being, I think the whole segue from being an encourager to being a problem solver is so fitting, because if you're not a part of the stop fixing the problem, then you are the problem. Mm-hmm. So it's looking at the situation. What would God have me to say? What would God have me to do? And sometimes you just have to shut up.
Yeah. I know in Ephesians 4:29 it talks about if you're going to speak to someone, let it be words that build up.
That's it.
Chrislyn, you had something you was going to add.
Yes. So, Miss Cheryl, I think Cheryl brought up a really good point about sometimes we just need to be quiet. And I think something that happens when we are quiet is it allows the Lord to speak. And so I think also being a problem solver looks like prayer. I think it looks like prayer. And the reason I say that is because we know in this human body of flesh and spirit, they are always at war. And we experience that through sin. We experience that through sanctification. We experience that every day. And so I think, when scripture tells us whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. I think that means that we have to actually give to God what we are seeking for him to be able to answer. And so with being a problem solver in a relationship, I think a way that they can lead together is leading one another to seek the Lord.
Now, I have this question that I hear men say this about us, and it's like, it seems to be a problem. And how can we solve it? And one thing that I hear men say about women all the time is we refuse to say, I'm sorry. You know, we
Wow.
refuse to say.
Really?
The peanut gallery is a lot.
Men are shaking their heads behind
I am so quick to say I'm sorry.
the computer.
Wow.
Is that the case that most women are not? Would
Well,
y'all agree with that?
I
I'm
would
telling
not.
you, I hear it so much from men that they say, this woman just won't say she's sorry. She won't take ownership for her issue in this. And a lot of times that's part of the problem is I just told you about what you did or something you said, and you won't take ownership for it. You won't say, I'm sorry, or, that you heard.
And are these godly women?
These are godly women.
Okay.
I know. Well, I know.
Ask yourself this, and you've been with a whole month without never saying sorry to them. And most women, when I ask them, that whole month, and you ain't got nothing to be sorry for. But yeah, most women, we really believe that every man I want to say, I'm sorry. They'll say, I didn't
You were
do that. Some of the things you say, or I did this because that's just.
Oh, they
Okay.
give you a reason. Okay, go
I have
ahead,
a question.
Chrislyn. What's the question?
For the women who are in relationships, have been in relationships before. I think when we talk about I'm sorry, that means that we are taking accountability.
Mhm.
And sometimes taking accountability is seen as weakness, or in the face of the person that you're angry with, maybe it seems like you're giving up on your point. Or I'm sorry means I'm not going to be heard. It just means forget about it. So I want to ask y'all, in your experiences in conflict, how do you work toward I'm sorry? What does that look like?
For me, I'm sorry acknowledges the other person more so. It's me taking, not necessarily, and to me, I'm sorry doesn't necessarily mean a right or a wrong. It may not even mean that I believe what you're saying in terms of, yep, you're right, I'm wrong. But I'm sorry that I offended you. I am sorry that I hurt your feelings. I am sorry that I said that. I'm sorry that I did that. Not that I am sorry as in I'm a sorry person. So it comes very naturally for me to say, I'm sorry or I apologize. And that's the part I'm very empathetic. So I think most people who are empathetic, that kind of naturally flows from them. But
And I'd say for me, honestly, when I think about things I'm sorry for, and I'm just thinking about kind of recent past, when I say I'm sorry, to me, I don't want to just say I'm sorry and then move on to whatever else. I'm sorry and I want to show a remorse. Like I want to go a little bit further to say, let me make your plate. Let me do something more than, and I mean, for me, it's like I am sorry from the bottom of my heart. I mean, when I hear back from you, like how you just interpreted what just happened, I try to say, let me travel a minute in your shoes. Because one of the things I will say in my quest for listening better and actively listening better, not worried about what I'm going to say next, but say, just shut that brain off and just sit over there on that side with you and see it just from your side. When I do that, I'm like, wow, I could see your point. I totally can see your point. But it's taken this place in me that I'm like, I'm trying to, because what I realize, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We so different. We so different, and in that, I have, in my 4-year journey, I am learning so much more about men. We grew up 5 girls. Give you all around these girls and this one boy, and the boy was trying to be gone all the time because he didn't want to be around the girls
all the time.
So it's I mean, at the end of the day, we're just so different, and the things that I would say, maybe wouldn't bother me, but it bothered him. Right. Who am I to say it don't bother you? That bothers you, Right. So being able to talk about that,
and you've got to acknowledge that.
You said it right. Men just want to be acknowledged. If I say something,
So men want to
You
be
said it.
acknowledged.
I don't need you making a play. I don't need you. I just want to be acknowledged, just like y'all. We hear women say we are so much different. I don't understand that. What does that mean? We're so much
Yeah. Well,
different. We have emotionals, we have feelings, we get hurt, everything, we bleed, everything. What makes y'all think that we're so much different?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Ramona.
I wouldn't put it all in a basket, one size fit all. But I will say this: there are triggers in relationships, and we have to find out what that trigger is for our mate. It could be a childhood trigger. It could be something that happened in high school. It could, whatever it is, we need to find out what bothered them. What's bothering you? What's bothering him? Why is it every time I say this? I was in a mission class early on in my life, and my mission teacher taught words. There was a book. There is a book, Words That Hurt and Words That Heal. But you still need to know what bother your mate. What's bothering your husband? And the same thing that bother you may not bother you.
Exactly.
And so that's why it's important to keep you. We have to keep this real. This is a real situation. It's just real like that.
Yeah.
What
It's-
makes us different?
What makes you different?
I think our life experiences make us
That's
different.
right. I'm talking about men and women.
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Well,
My experience as a woman growing up as a little girl, young girl, here's a doll to play with. Here's a card to play with. The differences start very, very early in how we are trained and conditioned. Now, when you break that down to an emotional level, at the core of who we are, a heart is still a heart beating. So, I'm learning more. I think what makes us different is women are taught it's okay to express your emotion. Men have emotion, but they're taught it's not okay to express it. I think we're in a different world now that embraces and accepts and encourages men to express their emotion without looking weak, without looking soft, without looking all these other things. Whereas women, we've always had the green light to do that. You all were coming into that, but we're also the same women who grew up with. Now I'm different. My dad did express emotion, but on certain levels he didn't. So we are having to rethink a new thought that maybe Chrislyn doesn't have to, because the men who are my age are of the age of be a man, be tough, hold it in, real men don't cry. All these things. We're starting to see those things being dispelled, and we're starting to see men become more in touch with the emotion. So therefore it's exposed to us, and we see that now. I think that's the difference. Inherent, real, true physical difference, not so much, but society has created the differences that we have become to know as truth.
And I think as women now we are learning and coming to understand that men are sensitive, that they are very sensitive. They've been taught to be tough, but when you get in relationship with them, you're learning, oh, they really are sensitive. And I've got to be careful about how I put my words out there and things that I do. I've got to, as Ramona said, you got to learn what is it that really bothers them. And so one is, for us is learning to say, I'm sorry, and actually hearing that and not coming up for an excuse for why you did this and that. Just say, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant, you know, and go from there. And so I'm saying, women, if you hear us today and you hear the men in the audience saying, you know, this is something that they've experienced from women, say you're sorry, and then don't just say it, but then find out what was it that was so bothersome, so you don't keep repeating that, because then your I'm sorry doesn't mean anything, you know. So
Seek understanding.
yeah, seek understanding. We got the men in talk.
Women today have to understand, because I heard a lady say that saying you're wrong and taking accountability responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
the next level of that is the shame that you did. I think women today
Yes.
have to understand
Yes.
that the shame on you today won't change. See, the original woman, Eve, the shame on her changed mankind forever. That's not going to happen. But we talk about genetic DNA and memory, how we think about it. When shame was on her, when she done wrong, it changed everything. Well, that's not the case in our relationship. So all we're asking for it not to be proud. Because what ladies have to understand when you talked about how the tongue and how you can lash out,
Mm-hmm.
every time a man gets into a dispute with a woman, he has to do that in her arena verbally. You never have to come to my arena, which is physically. So I'm always at a disadvantage. So every time I step into, unless you are a man who can really articulate himself, he's going to get flustered and he's going to run out of words. And when men run out of words, they fist balled up. Well, he know he cannot do that, so he usually walks away. He stonewalls you. He uses to communicate you more because most women are more skilled.
Yep.
Okay.
At not communicating.
Uh-huh.
They're more skilled at putting a bunch of words out into the atmosphere that you cannot dispute.
Wow.
Well, I tell you this.
Wow.
I have to agree with you. My husband would send emails about everything. He just would put it in writing. Why won't he just, I'm right here. He just sent me an email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
So he could finish a thought.
he didn't want to argue about
Right.
anything. So
Yeah.
let me just send you an email.
Mm-hmm.
He did that with the kids. You know, he would
Okay.
talk sometimes, but for the most part, he would send an email.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, honestly, so you know, in women's circles, you hear women say, they just want us to be quiet.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I hear that.
We hear that.
That
We
that
hear
they
that.
that y'all just want us to be quiet. And so, what do we do with that? I mean, to be quiet. I do think that there is something to be said about knowing kind of when to speak
Balance.
and when to be quiet.
Yeah.
And
What do you say, Chrislyn?
I was going to say maybe a way to meet the men in the middle is to help them find words for what they're feeling, or even to give them space to understand what they're feeling. Because, of course, like he mentioned, the physical would be disrespectful, problematic if it were to get to that place. And so there does have to come a time where we grow to be able to communicate at the same level and understanding. And so I think like that where there is lack, like y'all could meet each other in the middle.
Well, and we're talking about problem solving. So to solve that problem, what we're what the bottom line seems to be is when you are wrong, admit it, say you're sorry, and try to find out how to keep it from happening again and again. Um, and I think Terrence made a point because I can remember when I was in counseling, I brought that up. And one thing the counselor did say is it's hard for women a lot of time to say I'm sorry because they are ashamed that they hurt you. They're ashamed that they cause you to feel away. So it's hard for them to confess that they did something shameful or something that made you feel hurt when that was not your intent. Okay. All right. Do we feel ready to move on to? Sure. One more thing.
That's right. 'Cause you always say men don't communicate.
Mhm.
And this is always my answer. He communicated enough. So he is a communicator.
No.
Get married to you. And if he wasn't, that's not on him. That's on you. But you know at the beginning, like man communicates. In
It's
his
different.
language.
In his
Now,
language.
in his
That part,
he
Ramona.
communicates.
Mhm.
And it's different.
You're not
It's that's
asking, you wait till later to ask him. Oh, he don't communicate. Married him, I'm in laid with him, and now all of a sudden that same man can't communicate. That's puzzling.
Well, but if the communication and the way he communicates is not what drew you in, it's not necessarily a thing until it becomes a thing.
And if y'all never got into conflict until you got married or until you laid with that person, then you are going to be met with things that you didn't experience beforehand. So if the only thing he communicated was, I love you so much, you're amazing, we're so great together, and you never got into the nitty gritty of your hearts, of what's going on, then I do think you are going to be hit with a unexpected.
Y'all take the talk, right? Because you're saying that he talks all that nice stuff and pretty. That's talking. That's not communicating how he feels. So is it the guy or is it you just saying, oh yeah, he said I'm pretty, I'm cute. Took me out to dinner.
I think in that situation, the woman would need to take accountability for, oh, I kind of never pushed or asked questions about his heart, about what makes him angry. I never saw him angry. My grandfather always says, do not marry anybody until you see them angry. And so things like that, where it's like, there should be a checklist, I think, of things that you should see before making that step.
I think people tend to date on a very shallow level.
Yeah.
And it's girded by the fun stuff you like to do. We keep busy. We do. We go. What do you do when you're dating? You date. You go out. You go to dinner. You do this and you talk surface. It's when you start digging deep and start getting into things that
you see the real person. You see something different, right? And dating is really, actually, dating is really, when I look at it, that's what you should be doing after you get married. This pre-marriage, this is your vetting time. I'm vetting whether I want you in my life. So I'm going to be asking you some hard questions. I'm going to be taking you around my family so I can get some feedback. I'm going to be praying about this. I'm pulling out my list that I had before God to see what's, whether he's meeting that list. And then I'm asking God, what have I left out? What do I need to, be looking at here? Because to your point, a lot of time dating is just a having fun period. It's you not really getting yourself prepared for really living with that person and really sharing life, because you're dating to share life somewhere down the line. And if that's not, what are you doing if you're not dating for the purposes? I mean, and you need to say up front, I'm just having fun. I'm not trying to be serious. So you don't waste that person's time who's looking for a wife, who's looking for a husband. You need to talk about the good thing, the things that's going to carry you through life. So we have talked that one to death. Okay. Chrislyn, you was going to talk to us about being a lover.
Yes. I'm so excited about this question, y'all, because
how does a godly woman express love in a way that honors God and reflects his character, whether it's marriage, friendship, or family?
Yes. Well, I love this question because Miss Lana connected a woman in the Bible with all of our questions. And so Ruth was the one that was connected to being a lover. And I just think that is so rich, because I think when we think of a lover in the dating circle, our minds can either go to a fantasy, kind of like, oh, he takes me out, like he holds my hand, like all of these perfect things. Sometimes it can go to a lustful place where you're imagining the wrong things, where you're not able to see the person clearly. And so seeing Ruth be the person that represents being a lover, in Ruth 1, verses 16 through 17, I'm pretty sure y'all know, but I'm just going to set the scene a little bit. Y'all know that her mother-in-law, Naomi, has lost her husband and she's lost her two sons. And her two sons happen to be Ruth and Oprah's husbands. And so Naomi has now asked her daughter-in-laws to leave and go cling to their family, for now they are grieving the same grief that she's grieving. And so she pushes them to do this. Oprah actually follows through and goes to see her mother and her family. But Ruth responds saying this. She says, "Don't plead with me to abandon you or to return and not follow you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me and do so severely if anything but death separates you and me." And the fact that that response represents being a lover, there are two things that I want to kind of highlight in how Ruth responded. One, I think her love is steadfast. And so steadfast means to be resolute, it means to be firm and unwavering. And I think about men when you are looking for a spouse, to find a woman who is unwavering in her faith, unwavering in her commitment to her family, unwavering in the workplace, unwavering in her word. She honors her word and what she says she's going to do. I think those are things that you can be like, okay, she's checking some things that in scripture, are even things the Lord, blesses and honored her through. And then the second thing I wanted to bring to the table is that her love is sacrificial, which is what Miss Lana brought up so beautifully. Yeah, I think it makes sense that Naomi is telling her daughter-in-law to go to her family during this time where she lost her husband. I think that's righteous. I think that even seems correct in an instance like this. But the fact that Ruth chooses to cling to her mother-in-law and to be with her in one of the hardest times of her life, I think that shows true sacrifice and sacrifice like Jesus. So.
Yeah. And the thing that's so beautiful, and you did a great job on that. Thank you. The thing too that I like about that story is that Ruth not only loved Naomi, but she wanted to know the God that Naomi
Absolutely.
loved.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
I think for men in our lives, when they see us loving God, I think it makes them want to know the God and cling to him even more, especially if he's a Christian man. It makes him also want to be in love with God too as well. So great job.
Hopefully, I'll get
Great
someone
job.
that's already in love with God. That the woman, the man, hopefully
He's already in love with God.
So
Yeah.
I loved everything you said, but can y'all tell me the one thing I think a man, both of us can say it at the same time. Wife knows, so she can't say it. Every
Respect.
man wants one thing.
Respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
Respect
And then
and
the next thing
peace.
is,
And
can you identify what that is? Respect for me and him
it's
is
different.
completely different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Peace
Totally.
for me and him is
Yeah.
completely different.
Right.
And most women I ask, never asked that question.
And it also helps, I think, too, if men are interested in someone or they're looking for a woman, they need to somehow let her know what respect and peace means to them so that she can ask within herself if that's
It's
something
something.
she can meet,
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's important as well. We've got two more here. Being empathetic. Cheryl, you mentioned before that you're an empathetic person. Uh, why is empathy often overlooked as a spiritual strength, and how can a godly woman reclaim it as a gift?
I think empathy can sometimes be looked at as feeling sorry. You, poor thing, poor you, poor me, and that is not really what empathy is. The Bible says in Romans 12:15, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. And that is empathy. You celebrating? Girl, I'm celebrating with you. You know, honey, I'm celebrating with you. You down? I'm down with you. Um, you're in the middle of the road. We're hanging out in the middle of the road. Um, so it's almost, if you think about a parrot, the bird, a parrot, they just repeat back what's being. So it's a mirror. I'm giving you back what you give to me, but it has to be genuine, and I think that's where the feeling sorry happens, instead of empathy. They are very different. Empathy is, I feel your pain,
Yeah.
but I don't feel your pain. So I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but it really is. I feel your pain to the best of my ability. I know you're hurting. I know you're sad. I know you're going through something. Um, I've never experienced exactly what it is you're going through, but I know what sad looks like. I know what pain looks like, and sharing in that. So with a mate or with a guy, your husband, your significant other, I think empathy, there's a fine line to walk because you never want to make them feel like, you know, I feel sorry for you.
Or even that
Or
kind of
pity.
or hurry up and get over it.
Yeah.
You know,
don't want
I
to you don't
mean,
want to rush their process.
Right.
You don't want to show them pity. And that's another thing too with empathy. It can often be misconstrued as pity, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's, I feel you, and because I love you, I care about you, then I care about what affects you. I care about what, no matter how big or small. And so let's walk through, figure out how we're going to help you to move through it.
And you don't want that person to go through those bad times by themselves.
And you
Even
want to be the safe place where they can land that.
right, you want to be the safe place, and you want to know that you also want to let them know that you celebrate what they are celebrating. You're celebrating their wins, and their good times, so they can you can roll with them in whichever way they're
Right.
going.
And there's no hate.
And there's no hate on
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. Anybody else got anything? All right, well, we're going to move to our last point, which was being a servant leader. And Sister Ramona is coming with it. And anybody that want to jump in, and then we'll be getting close to the end here.
I'll make it short. Being a servant leader, Deborah was the servant leader that you gave us to take a look at. And what I saw in Deborah, first of all, she respected her mate. Well, first of all, she was called to be a leader. That's important too. Sometimes we jumpstart a situation and we're really not called to be in a leadership role, and that can hurt and hinder a marriage because now we're trying to be over someone when we haven't been given that position in the first place.
Right.
So that's the first thing. She respected, she knew divine order. And then the second thing that I learned about her when you read over in Judges, she knew how to be in authority, but she also knew how to be under authority. She was not only a prophetess, but she was a judge. Right. She was gifted. She was called. She was bold. She was intelligent. And she respected him. She didn't go like, this is what we're going to do. She wanted him to be involved. And when she got him involved, he turned around and said, and so when you do that, I think it flipped the script, But when you just, oh, I'm in control. I was called to be in control, and I got this. We can't. I just don't think that we're getting the respect from our mate when we do that, even if we are in leadership roles. And yes, we are in leadership roles as well. We are called to leadership. But I think it's a way to do it. Just understand how to do it. So that was one thing. And it's important to know how to break through culture and traditional barriers and yet be desirable as a woman.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, are you gonna be desirable as a woman, or are you gonna be a man? You know, so I mean, not just
That part.
and to me, she she was in control, but she was also a woman. She was also feminine. She was also gentle. You know, let me put this on you. She just turned it back around.
Yeah.
Put it on him. He said,
Yeah.
"What I want to do."
Yeah. And she told Barack what God had told her to tell him.
Right.
And she backed him up when he said, I'm not going to do this without you. But she reminded him, well, then you won't get the credit
Right.
here. And then after all, they won the battle and all of that, she went right back to being where she was, which she showed humility in that she didn't try to take charge and say, "Oh, look what I did, honey. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be this and he wouldn't be that." That's not, it says servant leader, a leader that's a servant, and Jesus was the perfect example of that.
That's it.
You know,
He came here to serve, not to be
Yes.
served.
That's it.
right?
Whose feet are
Yeah,
we
you know, I want
washing?
to ask y'all something.
Okay.
Because I had talked to my wife about it. I hold like dance card for men. Right? Night I heard y'all. Like I'm telling you, there's a woman like empathy, right? For me, be ready for another man, for a man in my life as a woman. I would have to I know about it. Because we find a lot of times women have spells.
You're right.
So those things on there, I wanted to hear more about then your woman card. But what y'all do to be prepared for life. Not even have to be a life, you know. So it's like it was a lot of focus on men to focus on how a woman hear herself, hold her. Those. That's what I was looking for. Y'all did an excellent job. But I must tell you, I learned a whole lot.
Is
But
it
I was
still on?
looking forward to hearing about y'all. And all of y'all have such servant hearts. I wanted
Well, we should do it to be continued.
so us men can learn.
Because
something. I
we
know
did
that
our
you
assignment.
Yeah,
We did.
y'all did excellent. Y'all did excellent.
Is it off?
No, it's still
Oh.
somebody's off.
Oh,
No.
okay. Oh.
So I
Like
just
these
want to
ones.
thank all the ladies for their input. I appreciate you all. Applaud yourselves. Just want to say how much I appreciate you all for being willing to come on. Wanted to ask our my husband and our producer if they had any other questions before we come to the end of the podcast. If we have any questions out there, did anybody come in on Facebook and have any questions for us? Oh, silence is golden. Well, sometimes you need to say what's on your heart to say so you can reach a solution, because sometimes when you keep it and you keep keeping it, it's building up, and if it comes out, it's not going to come out good. So, I would say waiting on God to the right time to speak is what makes it golden. hmm
And how we speak.
And
Sweet.
how you say
Absolutely.
it, and how you say it.
First for everything else, but first for how you gonna speak.
And take a breath. Sometimes it's a breath.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so important. Just the art of breathing. It helps you calm down in a tense situation. It helps you gather your thoughts. Yeah, it's important. Just
don't
take
know.
a breath.
I think the other thing is and this is something I'm trying to practice as relationships start. Just being very mindful of just the way you're speaking to this man in your life. you know, to your point, maybe it's taking the deep breaths or whatever, but it's just, if this is going to be the most important relationship in your life long term, like I think if you start with just practicing, how you approach each other, then you kind of set, I believe you set kind of like, ground rules or whatever, not really ground rules, but you just establish some framework for how you all will interact, you know, with each other and practicing it. So to your point, you're saying rehearsing it. This started to be the way that you are communicating with each other ongoingly. So even when you have conflict or whatever, you've already kind of established just the way we're going to be speaking to each other. I don't know.
I think another thing is, ladies, on the marriage, talk to that man like willing to take a bullet for you. Because marry a woman, I have literally signed up to give you everything in my life. I want to be respected as the man that's willing to her protect you. And when you don't talk to him like that, you don't want a man in the situation to have the question, am I willing to die for her? You want him to be no even second thought. So talk to him in that manner, because what you do is you create that reciprocity. Because if you're talking to him like, I know you're willing to give me everything,
Right.
all of a sudden you've taken all of those thorns out, then it turns around and come back soft. But when the safe space you guys talk about, a lot of the communication that men stop is because you realize you was not a safe space.
Mm.
And when we talk
Wow.
about in today's society where men are now open up, I believe it's going to be very short lived, because now they're called sassy and they're in their feelings. And what we can do, we can bother those things up. But just remember, for a man to get into a relationship with a woman, for the story of Samson, all those armies of men came at Samson, took one woman.
Him down.
For a man to get in a relationship, you have to trust somebody enough to know, to tell them where our strength is, and them the tool that can take our strength and then turn over and go to sleep and trust you won't come. That's how important it is for men. That's why men don't get into relationships easy. That's why we are hesitant. And that's why y'all say we fall harder, because I had to give you every secret. And then we go back to what we said earlier about the tongue. So I gave you every secret.
Yeah.
And you cut me down.
Now, is there also a responsibility on the man's part, rather than making an assumption that she knows how? Because we all bring our own experiences into these things. The way my daddy talked, the way my mama talked, the way my grandmother talked, the way my grandfather, on and on and on. We bring all of that. We bring other relationships we've been in. So then, for a woman, let's say she grew up in a house of women that had no respect for men, never saw how a man should be spoken to or how a man should be treated. Think there is an onus on the man to help educate women rather than us reading books. And again, there is no cookie cutter in this. There is
Right.
there are exceptions to every rule, and everything I speak of is not,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm speaking life experience, and it's not a biblical. It's not a right or a wrong. It's a life experience. Isn't there a responsibility for men to help rather than women educating each other? Because we're educating each other from our experiences too. Isn't there a responsibility for men to step up and say, "Hey, this is how." This is what that looks like, because I think women oftentimes we do things and we say things because that's what I saw, that's what worked with this one,
And we
and
need
we
a
think
new,
it's being
we
respectful
need
or
a
we
new
think it's being
example.
kind, and
Yeah.
it goes back to what Fran was saying about the respect and the peace, what that looks like for him. I think a lot of men don't communicate it, a lot of them. So you are left to figure out, oh, he got upset about that. Okay, that's not a good thing. You gotta, or so either you're withholding, walking on eggshells, or you get mad and he gets it all. where is the responsibility on the man's part to help educate us so that we don't have to have the guesswork in figuring that out?
He has the responsibility to tell you those things, but a lot of times he has to take those.
Does he know?
Well,
No, you got to ask a question.
I know, but does he know?
You will find out. You say, hey, I really don't want to upset you in this area, and I don't know what respect is, what you have been. Know some things. He might not know all, but he can say, well, this. Now you have that to work on, because then you go back and those conversations are ongoing, because the more you ask, the more I'm going to start. Because guess what? Nobody cares about men's feelings. General, I say an individual on it. Nobody cares. So guess what? When y'all say we don't tell, we don't say, who has ever asked us?
I disagree. I have been blessed to be around women who care about men's feelings.
Not I'm saying in a general society.
You're talking in the culture, like culturally.
Culturally. The society. The thing is that the reason we're never pressed to go out, because we realize and we get taught early on, hey man, your feelings don't matter. And so now we get to the adulthood and we start dating women, and then she asks us some questions, and we're like, well, I've never had to even think of this thing before, because nobody has ever shown me that what I thought mattered.
So my question is then to you and even to us, how do we be proactive in that? Is that a parenting lack that happened for the man, where he didn't receive that from the marriage of his parents? Is that the man being raised by his culture, the culture of the world, and not being raised by what the Lord says about him, what God said, who God says he is? Where, because we have to be careful not to allow to place the blame of the things that we lacked in expecting our spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend to be able to fulfill what those wounds are deep. And so I think there's some multiple ways in which there needs to be like a healing process.
Now, when you said, how are we going to prepare for a relationship, a marital relationship, and you didn't see a healthy marriage, you don't know what they were all about. So it's really basically, when you get in there, you're teaching each other, what you would like or what you expect of them. I believe that's really going to be the only way, because everybody's different, and you can take all the classes.
That's it.
Read all the
Read
you
all
can
the
take
books.
get all the counseling that you want, but still at the end of the day, you still have to be a level of teaching each other. Babe, I didn't like that. I need more of this. I'm not happy about that. And sometimes, in my experience, men they have a hard time with that. They just sometimes get angry, especially if they were not around healthy marriages, that there was nurturing and all of that.
And women too.
And
Yeah, women too.
too.
And
Yeah.
yes.
And I firmly believe that what's on my heart, and I've recently written a book, is that I think God is ready for us as believers to change the narrative, and get into what it's going to take for the healing to occur. Because what's happening is there's a lot of damage going on in relationships, Christian and non-Christian, because nobody is following the guidebook, which is the word of God. He plainly tells us in his word, you got to be patient. You got to be kind.
Yeah.
He tells you what love is, and then he
Long
even
suffering.
bothers to tell you what love is not. Don't keep up no record of wrongs.
It's not puffed
You know,
up.
you don't be puffed up. love bears all things. In other words, whatever's coming at you, love bears it. You hold each other up so you can get through this. That's what love does. But what it don't do is boast. What it doesn't, I mean, it's so plain and it's there. And I think he's told us this, and what's on my heart is we've got to change the narrative, because we got folks, they don't want to get married no more. They don't even want to be in relationships anymore. They've got all these narratives from bad experiences because nobody is doing it the way God said do it. We ain't got no patience. Oh, child, I ain't got time for that.
Right.
He ain't got this, and this, and she not that, and that. No, I'm moving on to the next thing.
And then it's let's just move in and try it.
Right. But we got to get back, because this is what's caused us so much hurt.
Yeah.
And this is what has caused the deep wounds that we need to come out of. We got to change the way we talk about it, the way we live with it. We got to get back to communicating.
So all these shows always talk about over 100,000 and all this stuff. Say, and what you said was right. If I understand that love is an action, it's kind, it doesn't boast. These are the things of love. Not that he's too short. Not that he doesn't make over 100,000.
Right.
It's just mind-boggling to me. It's like Christian women.
Yes.
Christian women say he's not this, he's not that. I'm like physical attributes, but he's kind to me. And he's listening. Wow. He's all the things that God said love is, not fickle.
Yeah, faith is not fickle.
So we wonder on y'all view on him, because we hear that all the time. He's not physically appealing. And I'm like, but he treats you like a queen. But you talk about your feelings. So a guy sitting there and say, in 10 years, when I put on 20 pounds, but then, so
we say the same thing.
Yeah, but you can that more a guy.
That's a reverse.
McDonald's.
Well, I want to ask.
Nice, you know that, right?
Well, but will he marry her?
Huh?
But will he marry her?
Right.
Well, they do. They really do. A woman ain't gonna marry no McDonald's boy. Like, what's the he work at McDonald's. He can. Like
if he owns
right. Opinion on that. Had the importance of physical attraction, or how,
or be
I think that's so. I actually want to open this up, because I want to open this up for the men, because I usually hear physical attraction, and maybe this is a culture thing, men, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Physical attraction is usually deeply, even sometimes the way it's depicted in culture, more important for the man than the woman.
Come on, tell the truth. Tell the truth. Come on. Come on.
Physical attraction is very important to men.
Yeah.
The difference between physical attraction for men and women, we don't lie about it. You will tell me I want him to be nice to his mom. I want him to love the Lord. I want him to do this and I want to do that. And then I'll bring you that. And you say, oh, what about physical attraction? A man will tell you, no, I want him to be pretty first.
Okay, but where is that biblical? We were talking about the biblical
but what I'm saying is physical attraction works on men and women both.
On both.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we have to tell the truth that we do want a physical attraction, but we also have to look and say, might not be what we call the IG model or whatever the case may be, because you know what? Most of the IG models don't ever get married. It's the women who are what they would consider quote unquote average, which is not a bad thing. It's those women who are getting married. It's those women who have husbands in long-standing relationships and things like that. Because although our physical attraction is high, we also want to know talking about what brings to the table. I employ all women. They never ask you what you bring to the table.
I am
Don't
the table.
answer. Don't say that.
I am the
No,
table.
because guess what?
I heard somebody say that the other day. I heard somebody say that the other day. I'm still pondering that, but I heard someone say that.
If you're on the table, you don't need me. I'll take my hammer and nails, go somewhere else. And then the pretty woman saying, how did he go with that ugly woman down the street? Because she said, oh, you sure know how to build a table. Yeah, because the lady down here told me she was a table, so I moved on. But here's the thing. Honestly, and I'm going to tell on the men. You just asked the question, what would you like for me to bring? I'm willing to bet money he has no answer. He only wanted to rebut what you say. Well, I could. I get him. I get that. Everything you say, he's just going to go back and forth. Ask, what would you like? Because then we're talking about communication. Mm-hmm. You're making that person communicate with you.
Mm-hmm. What's important to them?
They never had an answer. They were just going to rebut what you say. So when you say that, so those things we're talking about communication in the dating phase. Oh, what do you bring to the table? No, what would you like to bring to the table? Because then I'll know if I have that to bring. But most importantly, for me as a man, I don't care what you bring to the table. I only care about who you are sitting at the table with. Yep. Because if our money runs out, I have a great time with somebody if I know who they are. If our money is good, I have a great time with somebody who I know. I only care about who you are,
right?
Not what you bring, because we can always get that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what ain't gonna change? You ain't never seen an all black or all white dead zebra head. Because them stripes still gonna be there. Who are you is more important than what you bring, because together we can go get whatever.
Yeah.
My wife knows.
I heard
simple. If a man asks you what you bring, because I'm inviting you to a table that I have prepared. I'm a man. So if I'm asking you, I don't know who you are. That's a confused brother. If I ask you to come to my house, come to my table, right? I know who you are, who I invite into my space. I'm older. I need peace. So
but that's usually
so the guy asking you what you bring to the table. He don't even know what he wants. Because he's watching you. He's watching you, see you, and then say, "Come to the table." You don't even. Ray Charles.
But that's usually the icebreaker. So that's usually the icebreaker question.
No, there ain't no icebreaker. Yeah, I never asked my wife what she brought to the table. You know why? Because
and I am with friend. I will run.
I have not personally had a question asked of someone who was pursuing me. I've had it asked in this sort of a forum where it's like, banter. But that's interesting. The two perspectives.
I watched my wife. I knew
what she brought to the table.
You know what? But again, I was her what I was wondering what she brought to the table was actually who she was. I just needed to know who are you that's going to be sitting right beside me? Because life is going to come in and life is going to life.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to enjoy this life.
Yeah.
That the song by Luther Vandross when he says, "I'd rather have bad times than you than good times."
Oh, that's it. Else. That's my song.
That's saying I know who you are.
I
know it.
Mm-hmm. Now, we first got married, we was going to $7 Texas Rangers games because we were like, "Yo, what we gonna do?"
Right.
$7, let's go.
Yeah. Had the best time.
And you know why we had the best time? Because God was blessing it. Because we would always walk to the stage and go buy tickets, and somebody would be like, "Hey, we got extra tickets."
Yeah.
We put that $7 back in our pocket and keep rolling, right? And the thing is, we were merging finances.
Yeah. Right. You figuring it out.
But it was tight at the beginning.
Yeah.
Of course.
But we would go sit way at the top and have a great time because I knew who I was sitting there with.
Yeah.
And she wasn't somebody who was like, "I'm too good for this, I'm too good for that." She knew who I was and she knew what I do.
Right.
It's just about knowing who you are at that table. So like Fran said, run. Because it's a terrible icebreaker. If anybody ever says that, don't do that. Just understand that person, we talk about physical attraction, a lot of times they hear guys podcasts and things. This wasn't my type, but I got it. And they say, "Oh, and please never let that love come my way." And I say, wait a minute. There are a few women in life that are most guys, all types. There is a good chance that this man has dated multiple different women and might have had a physical type that
Similarity.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned something. A man's real type, never taught this. Real type, type of woman. Not always physical. It draws our attention. But why do you think we spit pretty girls back out? If that was our type, why would we spit back? Because she wasn't the type of woman that we wanted. So yes, you might be shorter than he liked. You might be taller than he liked. And all of a sudden, why you can't get rid of it? He found the type of woman. He was always taught to express type and physical. So this ain't that movie Weird Science where you go to the computer and put her out. So sometimes with me, we say, you know what? I like dark skinned women. How did I get with this light skinned woman?
Mm-hmm.
She was the type.
She was the type.
That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
I got it. I just got a few more minutes. Why do women stay with men so that they know? 2 years, 1 year. Why? Every man will tell you. I'm sure they tell you. He'll tell you. We know who the one is, but we wonder why women stay with men so long.
Here.
Men, are you talking men, women who are married to these men or dating? Dating. Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, some people,
still rolling?
some people do. Some people
Because I
do.
know a lot of women say it's too early to ask questions of a man. It's too early. And I'm like, answer that. We want to know right then. Tell us who you are right then. Ask us. But they always think it's too early. So you waste your time with some man that not everybody. Not put everybody through a thing. But I just at my job, I'll be seeing people engaged for 5 years. And they want to come to counseling and and ask us stuff. And I'm like, could have known all this stuff back because we asked questions to them. Did that at the beginning. You could have said who you were. You didn't even have to ask questions. You could have said, this is who I am. Can you or do you want to deal with this? I want to be married in a year. I'm dating with intentions. I couldn't say they date with intentions and be with the guy for 2 years. It's hard question.
Not while the camera's rolling.
Ms. Do you want to expound on fear? Okay.
Well, you probably dated somebody a long time.
Yeah.
No, good for
24 years old. Come on.
I believe that
Love of the
fear
Lord.
is the underlying reason why people stay longer than they should. Fear of being alone. Number one.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
I have to say it's also it's a little bit of insecurities. I think it's insecurities. Sometimes feel can I do better? I don't know if I can do better. And he does do A, B, and C. I think you start rationalizing in your mind.
I think it's largely complacency. You know what you got. You have a great time together. You're able to go to your quarters. They go to theirs, and you meet up and you get together and you go out or you do whatever it is that you enjoy doing, and then you go back to your space, and that's it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of a thing.
Follow-up question. Is the fear marriage would break what has already been built? Say they've been together for 4 to 5 years, they're living together, but they're not married. Is the fear that marriage would harm that thing instead of like propel it?
I think for some people that might be, but I think it's different things for different people. Especially if you're older and you kind of got a thing going and you want to get married, but you're scared to bring it up or whatever. because you don't want to run the person off. But to Ramona's point, you're afraid that you're going to be alone, you know. And I've heard women my age say, well, they're already looking at the younger woman, so what chance do I stand, you know? And so it sometimes it's self-esteem. I just think it's a myriad of factors as to why people continue to stay in a relationship that they are not, I would say, fulfilled or want to go further, but they don't want to rock the boat. They don't have enough confidence to say, look, I'd rather be by myself for the right reason than to stay over here for the wrong reason. They don't want to be alone when they're thinking like that, and they're not confident enough to move on, you know.
One question I have for the lady. Brad talked about earlier about the guy having all, and I always say those guys get friends. Have y'all friend zoned a guy that you knew was a great mate?
My ex-husband, I friend zoned him full circle. But anyway, so this was 10 years ago before friend zone was even a word. And I used to say, we met while I was in college, and I used to say he's the kind of guy you marry, and I would not date him. Did not want to be with him at all. Fast forward, however many years later, we did end up getting married. I was married for 18 years, and life happened. But I mean, yeah, it does happen. It's a thing.
I'm just thinking about that question. You know what I would say? I think it has happened, but then I go back to your man card, and I don't know. No one is probably gonna have everything, just as I don't have everything. But I like to say there's, you got to go through an assessment. So you got a rock, a pebble, a rock, and a boulder. And some of those things on that man card, they were boulders. And I for me, it's like I want to keep my eyes wide open. On one hand, there are some attributes when you say that was a good guy that wound up being your friend. Yeah, they needed to. I mean, I feel like I had to put them in the friend category because I'm being realistic with myself. And when I see some things, like I don't want to, at this season of life, I don't want to go saying I do. And I saw that way back then. So, yeah, I don't know if I can say, I mean, people would say looking on off the surface, oh, that's a good guy. But as you've kind of moved up close, a little bit more personal with them, and you've gotten to know them, you do see some things. And for me, I'm like, okay, I need to keep my eyes wide open because you don't want to regret. You saw it, but you went on anyway.
Yeah, y'all's is a little bit different. But I know what he's talking about. I get that you were the right guy at the wrong time.
Mm.
And right guy, wrong time. I have often said that when that goes. I've been friend. I've often said that a lot of times that this is the right guy, but they know they will ruin that guy in relationships, so they keep him in friend zone. Not that he wasn't ready, not that he wouldn't have provided that what she needed, but she knew I'm going to eat you up and spit you out because I'm not done being.
I'm not ready for you.
I'm not ready for you. Yeah, yeah. Did you laugh?
I did.
At this
because I've been, I guess, in the Christian dating space and kind of trying to figure out like there's these qualities that are qualities that I desire, but maybe I'm not physically attracted to him. Or maybe like there are parts of us that feels like it doesn't mingle. I don't know. So like I've had to like wrestle with in my brain, like not thinking from a place of lack where it's like, Chrislyn, like you better hold on to him. Like he pursued you and it's already hard out here anyway. And like I'm almost coming from a place of like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. So out of fear, let me cling to this, even though I'm already feeling in the beginning like I don't know if I see you in that way. And so I, as a single person, I'm always like trying to make sure I'm not expecting perfection, but at the same time, I'm also being realistic with myself and believing there is more. There are other guys out there who are handsome and have all the qualities that I desire and handsome to me. Not to say, because I think like Miss Angie said, it's not about you might not be the guy for me, right? You can be a good guy, but you might not be the good guy for me. And so I won't ever trump that a guy's a good guy. But I believe the Lord would not have you trying to force something or already confused in the beginning on whether you like the person. Usually the beginning is meant to.
You're seeing the God, you're seeing people through your eyes, but not through God's eyes. And God show you, he won't tell you the truth, but God shows you.
Right.
What
Exactly.
love is, and then you decide it's about my.
Is that what y'all hear me saying?
Now, what friend wants you to do? No, what friend wants you to do is take the word love and put the man's name there. John is kind.
Yeah.
John, go through that whole little scenario there, and if he checks all that
Cute
off,
is nowhere on that list.
Right.
you got to go and go with
But
it.
how do you be married?
You know what?
How do you be married?
I'm gonna tell you something.
God opens your eyes differently.
No better than me like this. You said, I don't think God will have you. I don't know why or how we believe in free will and that God won't have us. God gave us free will to make decisions. We marry somebody, people say, well, God, no.
Yeah.
God did not make you walk down that aisle. You made the decision. When you looked at somebody and said, I don't see him that way. God didn't put confusion in you. You put confusion in you. And we have to understand what free will truly means. When we have free will, we make these decisions. Now he can guide us. He can give us a door of escape.
Yeah.
But a lot of times he ain't gave no door of escape. We got a sledgehammer to a brick wall and we trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're supposed to go down this corridor.
Right.
So we got to stop blaming God when we
right. And I'm not trying to blame him. And I will say that I think two things can be true. I think what you're saying in that we do have free will and that we do have a decision to make. And even to Mr. Friend's point, looking at scripture and saying, does he meet these all these things? But in the same vein, I think that in order for a relationship to progress, and in order for someone to see someone romantically, physical attraction is a part of that, or whatever the blank is for that person. And so I think shying away from that is a woman not being upfront or is to that point. So like,
have you ever found yourself attracted to someone and it wasn't that they were so handsome or good looking, but it was just something about them? Maybe you couldn't put your finger on it.
Yes. Even that, like you could be emotionally attracted, spiritually attracted.
You could be attracted and hang on to every word he says, and he may just look like.
I was trying to see if romantically was in the Bible.
But Liz, okay, but this why I'm not. This is what's not gonna happen. Is this accountability on the woman card and not on the men card? Because I have a feeling the conversation would be.
I think God gives you different eyes to see. That's the best way that I can say that.
And I think you have to be careful. Not there's a song that the Winans sing in one line, and it says, "There are so many choices. It's so easy to be confused." Is you're always meeting people and you see people you like, you kind of attracted to and all of that. But you got to narrow down what you're looking for and not be distracted with fine and cute and he make 100K and he might be making 40 or 60. He's responsible, he's stable. But if you distracted over here with all this other stuff because you got all these choices, you confused because you confused with the distraction versus what your goal is and who you really like, and because we want 100K, but is 100K gonna want to share? Is 100K gonna love you?
Be mean.
Like Terrence said,
Right?
Is
Girl, you don't want
to. You gonna
Take
be
you
mean?
through. Take you through. Take you
Oh,
through.
You can make them
yeah.
make it.
It's like what about the regular blood
neglected.
brother who's taking care of things? You see him taking care of his kids. You see him going to
His
work
parents.
every
You say
day.
beautiful.
You know,
Just beautiful.
He ain't all that cute, but in a suit he can look
You can
real
dress
good.
him up.
Yeah.
But you
That's
won't
why
get
you play
you
baby
won't
dolls.
you won't get past the blue jeans and the t-shirt. It's like, girl, you hung up on he don't dress up enough for you. You can do that. You can help him out. I mean, my
Help him
husband
out.
and I say he looked either balmy or he was fine dressed up. And he told me, and you dress like an old lady. But we got together in spite of it. I quit dressing like an old lady, and he looked cute in everything he wear because I make
heard
sure
that.
he does.
Come on. Look at
I
that.
mean, it's like, what you looking for, and can you work with what God allows to come in your space? But you got all these choices out here, and you done got distracted. Don't be distracted. Where is your list? Stay with that list and keep your eye focused way down over in there. And when fine come and cute come and all this other stuff, but yeah, is he gonna be this and is he gonna be that?
And fine and cute may come wrapped up with
They
all
might-
of that.
it might
and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you looking at him different. Kind of cute.
Yeah.
Fine. You didn't know it, but he didn't. The appearance initially was not that.
Right.
God gave y'all this. And they himself, he gave women a different type of. All of a sudden, he will start to morph in your eyes and things like that when he presents that other stuff. More than I think he gave it to guys, but I think guys have a special thing for that. Yeah, it's something about that is because you will really fall in love with them. You'll fall in love with the actions. You'll fall in love with the accountability. You'll fall in love with the protection and the provision.
That's how you can look at people and say, I wonder how he got her. You've seen people like that?
Yeah. So, and that's exactly right.
Yeah.
He presented those things that he, I tell men all the time, hey, listen, are you ugly? One of the three M's. You need muscles, money, or ministry.
Okay. Or music.
Together, you shoot to the top.
Money or ministry. I got it.
And add music.
I got it.
You love the Lord, you got muscles, you got money.
Hello,
boy, you should
add musician to that.
Right now.
Look at him.
All right. So, y'all, we've had a discussion, and I just pray that you've gotten something out of it. I would say if you are a believer, change the narrative. Let's try to get to know each other a little bit better. Let's try to meet in the middle so we can become the one that God wants us to become with those mates in our lives. And I want to say, don't be distracted. I want to say, let's communicate and talk later, because talking is just talking, but communication is the key. So thank you tonight for joining us, and we might get to do this again, and maybe have male and female.
Whoa!
So thank you tonight.
Instead of just in the peanut gallery, get y'all on the
Look at
stage.
them. They like, we don't know about that.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And you can still ask your questions and throw them out there, and we'll get to them if we can. Okay. All right.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.